So I work as a nurse practitioner, and I work in primary care, which we really have a focus on health promotion and healthy living. And because of that, I'm a big advocate for healthy living. I'm an active runner. I've been a runner for years. I eat healthy. I like to keep up to date on my medical appointments and do preventative health that's available for women to have. So in June of 2021, I started to get just a vague discomfort on my right lower side. Not completely unusual. I had history of an ovarian cyst in the past, so sometimes I'd get some discomfort from that. So I didn't chalk that up to being much of anything. I did make an appointment with my doctor though, and in July I actually saw the nurse practitioner at the clinic, and she agreed we'd do an ultrasound on it, and she'd refer me to a specialist just to have it looked at. While I was waiting for that ultrasound to be done, I was just having progressively worsening discomfort, and I'd still, wouldn't have called it even a pain in July. It was just at certain times, certain ways I'd move, I'd just have a bit of pressure or discomfort. I was training at the time for a half marathon, so I was running with my running partner, and different times I'd be running past a store that might have a glass window, and I noticed like I was carrying weight differently. Like I was carrying weight kind of lower in my abdomen that I'd never had weight on there before. But I also thought, I had a baby in the last year and a half. I might have some baby weight, or my muscles aren't as strong as they used to be, and I kind of just ignored it. Then coming on to mid-August, the discomfort was getting to be decently significant. So I made an appointment to go into my family doctor, and I saw her in September, and I just said, I know I'm waiting for an ultrasound, but I think I need to have one sooner. Something's not quite right. So she ordered an urgent ultrasound that day. I had the ultrasound at 1 p.m. It showed a 21 centimeter what looked like an ovarian cyst, and at 5 p.m. that evening I was in the OR with the specialist having the cyst, ovary, and fallopian tube removed. And one thing that I think is really important is I went there when the pain wasn't too bad. So, it didn't seem to be an urgent issue at the time, but things changed. And there is a level of accountability on myself to go back, because they don't know that there's going to be a change unless I tell them. So I went back and said, look, this issue that I'm having, it's worsening. I really don't feel something is right. And that is why I had the ultrasound done that day. I had it done urgently because of, me going back and seeking that. As women, preventative screening is very important. So a Pap test that women are recommended to have checks for cervical cancer. Now, while you're at that appointment, if you have any symptoms like bloating, if you have any symptoms like increased urinary frequency, feeling hungry sooner than when you normally would, abdominal pressure or discomfort. But while you're at that appointment, your physician or nurse practitioner, family practice nurse, they can do an examination on you and feel for any abnormalities. But if you don't go to that appointment for the Pap tests, that will often get missed. But as far as having a screening tool like we have for colon cancer and colonoscopies, or mammograms for breast cancer, Pap's test for cervical cancer screening, we don't have a good test for early detection of ovarian cancer. So I was told October 19th, 2021, it was 4 days after my daughter's second birthday, and it was just instant fear, and it was more for thinking of my little girl. She's 2 years old. I work in the healthcare field. I know what ovarian cancer can do. It's not called the silent killer for no reason. Like, that is the nickname of ovarian cancer because the signs are so subtle. It looked early on like mine was stage 1 disease. It looked like it was confined within the tumor. I had an MRI of my pelvis that was clear. It showed that there was no obvious signs of spread to other organs or lymph nodes. But they told me about 1 in 5 people with ovarian cancer that look like stage 1 end up being a further stage along because it's microscopic. They really can't see it.
I just kind of try to stay positive. Like, everything we've been told has been positive to this point. Let's just kind of wait and see what happens. And then she was waiting to get the results back after the second opinion, and I got a call at work, and she said the results came back, and she's crying on the other end of the phone, says it's it's cancer, which is not something that I ever even thought would happen. And honestly, when the surgeon did the surgery the first time, she said, nothing looks sinister whatsoever. She said, I've seen when things look bad. I don't really have any doubts, but we're going to send it off anyway. So I get the call at work. She tells me kind of what the findings are. Obviously, you're in absolute shock. But trying to keep it together as best I can, because I know how upset she is. And then obviously getting off the phone and then trying to kind of process it all to, okay, well, what does this mean? We've got a 2-year-old daughter. Kind of where do we go from here? And then we kind of started, obviously, she was more educated just because, again, she's been exposed to this a bit more, and kind of finding out some of the details and what the next steps were going forward. And it was scary though, for sure, because you really don't know. And like, we had a number of friends, like we have a great group of friends, and we let some people know what was going on, but it was pretty small. And when we eventually came out and told everyone kind of what we were going through, they said like, we didn't even know. And like, we didn't know either. Like we knew, okay, cancer is here, but like Dena said, we didn't know the extent of anything.
And I said this in the Facebook post I made, we made some hard decisions. We made some tough decisions, but they weren't hard. We made some tough decisions with what kind of surgery I wanted to move forward with, but it wasn't hard because what guided everything is we want everything done that's going to lower the risk of this ever coming back. And I'll never forget, as I was waiting to go in for surgery, they kind of do this check, and it's the right person that we have. They know why they're here. They know what surgery they're having. And the surgeon said to me, do you know why we're doing this cancer today? And I said, yeah, this is the surgery I'm having done, and this is why. And she said, as of right now, it looks like you may have stage 1 ovarian cancer, and we do not see stage 1 ovarian cancer very often. So we need to make sure that there's no more cancer there. And I knew why I was there, but it really hit home. But as upfront as she was about that, after the surgery, she was equally upfront as saying, look, I don't have microscopes for eyes, but everything looks really good in there, and I have a good feeling everything's going to come back clear. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, I got the call from her that of the very extensive, aggressive surgery they did, everything had come back clear. So there was no further signs of cancer. So we don't have gynecological oncologists in Cape Breton. There's 5 in Nova Scotia, and they all base out of Halifax. So the vast majority of women diagnosed with a cervical, ovarian, uterine cancer, they have to travel to Halifax for appointment. We've gotten really good at our cancer center at offering most treatments here, but for instance, like I went up there 6 days for my surgery. Mike went up as well, stayed in a hotel for 6 days. My parents came up and they brought my daughter so she wouldn't be away from us for 6 days. So it certainly is an expense. It's a stress other women shouldn't have to have on their plate, on top of having to manage their cancer diagnosis as well. So what the Teal to Heal movement's going to be is financial help for women that are undergoing these, whether it's for treatments to Halifax, whether it's we send a care package to someone that's doing some chemotherapy at home, whether it's we donate some childcare for so women that have some important appointments to go to that they may not have a childcare option, some respite care for some families that are trying to keep a family member at home a little bit longer, some psychology appointments for people that may not have coverage through their work and want to discuss the mental health side of having cancer and going through the process of it. And also we've partnered with the gynecological oncology team in Halifax, so timing's really good. We're expanding our cancer center right now, so they're going to recommend some very specific equipment that we could have down in Cape Breton that hopefully will eventually limit women from having to travel to Halifax as often, because the specialists do travel down here monthly, but sometimes we don't always have the equipment down here that they need. So as we said before, I'm someone that has always lived my life promoting healthy living, promoting physical activity. I've coached sports for decades. I'm on the executive for Riverview Soccer. I'm on the committee for getting a playground in the Sydney River subdivision. Like, that's kind of what I do. So just because I had a personal experience with it, I can't take a step back from it. I do what I know how to do, and I try to, promote it and make it a positive thing. And that's my goal. And I've had, knowledge is power. When we know better, we do better. And that's what I'm just trying to do is raise awareness for this, disease that has very subtle signs and symptoms.